All right, okay, I'll take responsibility. I blame myself. I tested the fates. I poked the bear. I tapped the glass. Whatever you want to say. Over the weekend, I was saying, hey man, there's some cruise lines that haven't canceled March yet. Could we still be cruising? Will someone make the attempt? Well, no. New cancellations. That's breaking news. And there's a Caribbean island out there that says they're not going to be looking for cruise tourists all of 2021. That's not exciting either. And then I asked you guys the question, are you going to take the shot in the arm if they make you so you can get on a cruise? Interesting poll results. Coming up on today's show, all that and more. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I'm your host, Tony, here with your latest cruise updates. Well, let's talk about cancellations. Again, I made a big overture over the weekend, pointing out very specifically that there were a few cruise lines that hadn't given it up yet for March of 2021, specifically Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, MSC Cruise Lines, and Disney Cruise Lines. Now 3 of the 4 have given it up for March 2021, and one of them went even further. Let's talk MSC. MSC canceling all U.S. cruises in March of 2021, just March. Royal Caribbean and Celebrity went even deeper, canceling all cruises in March and in April. So April going away for Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. That's interesting. We've seen Royal cancel on a month-by-month basis, often mirroring what's going on with the other big cruise lines, but could they be eyeing May? I don't know. We'll continue to talk about that as time goes on. Celebrity also announcing cancellations on the Celebrity Apex, the Celebrity Edge, and the Celebrity Constellation. The Celebrity Apex is supposed to make a transatlantic cruise on May the 1st. That's been canceled. And then all May through October 2021, European cruises and transatlantic cruises on the Celebrity Edge and on the Celebrity Constellation have been canceled. Now, in reality, it wasn't me talking about it that made these cruises cancel. Of course, it is the virus. The virus continues to hamper the restart of cruising as we look for better days when this virus is less pervasive. And the cruise lines, they won't be doing it in the first quarter, and they're starting to push into the second quarter of 2021. We will continue to track along with it. And of course, the question that always comes on cancellation day, were you canceled? Shall we commiserate together? We weren't canceled this time, but obviously most of us know what a cancellation day feels like. And so we lament and we say goodbye to another cruise that was not. But yeah, we will cruise again, but just not early 2021. Let me start this next story off with an awesome quote. "The cruise business is not really within our contemplation at this stage," said the premier of the Cayman Islands, Alden McLaughlin. "The cruise business is not even in our contemplation." That really puts you into place, right? Like, yeah, we're not even thinking about cruises. The quote is indicative to how pervasive the virus is. And look, in all fairness, I understand the sentiment, right? If you are in charge of trying to keep a population safe on a Caribbean island or anywhere in the world, you're going to have a list of priorities of things that are important when it comes to the safety of that population. And I get what they're saying. Yeah, cruise ships not really rising. And he goes on to echo some of the things that we commonly hear. Cruises are hotbeds for viruses. Viruses spread easy on cruise ship. It's the same thing that the CDC says. It's the same thing that's parroted a lot when people are saying why cruises should not restart. And I wouldn't disagree. Cruise ships are a place where there's a potential for viruses to spread rapidly. The thing that does bother me though is when people say that, like, you know, it's a petri dish, or you know that viruses spread easily on a cruise ship. They say it like it's some sort of surprise. You know who is very keen to the idea of the environment of a cruise ship? The cruise industry. Like, they're not sitting there going, oh wow, it's so shocking that viruses spread easy on cruise ships. No, they got teams of people that are working on this to mitigate those vectors of spread on a cruise ship. Cruise industry year after year does an excellent job of mitigating the spread of sickness on cruise ships. Unfortunately, the way the world is set up, you only hear about the outliers. You hear about the random norovirus outbreak on a cruise ship. Of course, in the beginning of the pandemic, when nobody knew what this virus was, yeah, there was no mitigation in place for that on a cruise ship. We now find ourselves a year later, and so it's naive, in my opinion, to think that the cruise industry doesn't have some sort of plan to mitigate the spread of this particular virus on a cruise ship. I do understand where people are coming from. I just hate this blanket dismissal of the cruise industry as if they're not an industry that takes care of the environment in which they put people in. There's not really any great evidence for that. Again, you can point to the outlier cases, you can point to some of the initial stuff that happened during this outbreak, but long term, if you look at the long-term history of the cruising industry, it is a history of keeping passengers safe on cruise ships. And just to nullify that because you have a great talking point, okay, I'll get off the soapbox. But anyways, I get where they're coming from in Grand Cayman. Cruise is not even at the top of their thought process. They're trying to keep people safe on that island. And the premier, when asked about it, said, look, I don't think we'll have any cruise tourism in 2021. We'll try again in 2022. Definitely respect and appreciate that. But it is frustrating from a cruise lover's perspective that some of this misinformation permeates all the way at the highest levels of decision making. What are you going to do? You just keep trying to put the right information out there and hopefully that it sticks. I know a Grand Cayman cancellation would be a bummer to a lot of people. There's a lot of cool stuff to do on Grand Cayman. They don't have a big traditional dock there. It's one of those places you have to take a tender over to. I kind of like the tender ride. To me, that's the adventure inside of the adventure. But you can do a lot of interesting things on Grand Cayman. We've been there a couple times. The first time we went there, we went on a pretty cool tour. We got to go to Hell. There's a interesting geological outcropping of rocks there that's been named Hell. We went to Hell. We got a postcard in Hell. We went to a distillery there to rum tasting, and we went to the Tortuga rum cake factory. So lots of fun stuff to do there. Great tour on Grand Cayman. We went there one time and just kind of shuffled around the port area, did our traditional grab a magnet thing, which again, cruising can happen any way you want. So a lot of good experiences. A bummer, but understandably probably not in the cards for 2021. Is vaccine the answer? That continues to be the question. Hey, before I tell you about that, let me tell you about a community that is open to cruisers unhindered by the virus. It is the virtual community here on YouTube. The way that you become a part of it is you subscribe to this YouTube channel with the notification bell on. That way you're connected to Lido Loca. You're connected to that virtual cruising community, and you get notified when I send out these polls. I made a poll about vaccination. I asked a simple question: would you take the vaccine if it was a requirement for cruising? There's a lot of speculation out there whether there will be a vaccine mandate, and I wanted to know how many potential cruisers would we lose if they were forced to take a vaccine. Here are the poll results. So the poll has been up for about 3 hours. 829 respondents. 73% of the people say yes, they will take the vaccine. 27% of the people saying no, they will not take the vaccine. How many people is that? Hold on. 829 times 0.27. All right, around 224 people who responded would not take the vaccine, would not be cruisers anymore. It's going to be interesting. You got to assume that the cruise lines are doing these calculations somewhere as they contemplate a mandatory vaccine. Wouldn't you think the cruise lines have to assume that they're going to lose some cruisers in this whole process? There's enough people that are not for the health protocols, like going on vacation with the health protocols. As we see in this poll, there's people that are not for the vaccine. So I'm sure there's some accountant somewhere at these cruise lines going, all right, we're going to lose 20% of our base. We're going to lose this amount of people. So what do we do? How do we get it back? It's going to be interesting to see this cruise line recovery. Also, interestingly, if you think about Carnival, they continue to lose cruise ships. One thing I didn't mention in yesterday's show is that even though they're losing older cruise ships, the new cruise ships that are coming on are almost matching the capacity. So even though Carnival's going to have a smaller fleet from a numbers perspective, their fleet will be almost the same size from a capacity perspective. So it's going to be interesting, again, to see the recovery of the cruise lines if we ever get going again. And I'm hesitant to mention it because I don't want to jinx it, but Disney hasn't canceled March yet. So anybody got a Disney cruise? Is Disney your Huckleberry? I don't know. Big thanks to everybody that participated in the poll. If you want to be a part of the polls, make sure you are subscribed with the notification bell on. That way they'll pop right up there in your YouTube app or on your computer, and you can register your vote. Cancellation day, man, what a drag. The question for the comments is this: when will we cruise again? What's your best guess? Wow, did you get canceled? All the things. Grand Cayman probably making a good decision. Thank you so much for watching the show today. Please show your support by hitting the like button. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.